in the chat again? I don't know if you still,
I can get it.
Why don't you put it in the chat, because I ruined yours. I put all kinds of notes on it. So if I send it, it'll be on my notes too. But so anyway, go ahead and put it in the chat at any time. But I'm just going to go through it, Dawn, and then we'll all work on it. Okay. I just want to get some things I saw, and and then we'll all add to it. Okay. Well, first of all, we're in a pit, and it feels like a video game. Okay, what this kind of says to me is that the pit we're in is the container of ego, where there's a lid on it. It's limited. It doesn't have any, the gods are all asleep. So the unconscious is unavailable to us in this container with the lid on it, okay? So it's a pit, and the pit is something that we're all in when we're trapped in our own ordinary reality, okay? So, and it has an inauthentic feel. And I think as any, if we live completely without the infinite in our lives, at some point we burn out, and it just does not seem authentic to us. It seems like a video game. I mean, what's the point? Okay. All right. Now, someone shows us a quick way out. Okay. This is the magician. This is the one who, provides the magic that's going to get us out of this container that's lidded and shut. So we can expand our consciousness and actually, start to have a relationship with a container that contains the container. So I mean, it's actually, now we are going to start to have our develop into our true self, not just our ego self, but our ego self that now is in relationship with the soul and with the self. See, now that's what we were born to do, was to have the relationship with a non-ego center that is still inside of us. It's in us, but it is not our ego awareness. It's independent from us, but it's ours. It belongs to us. We were born with it. I think that we have to keep that in mind with the self and with the animus or anima, is they have universal aspects, but they belong to us. So our self is not the same self as their self. It's ordering archetype. The self is the ordering archetype of our lives, is unique to us, and it is unique to our seed and to our root and to our flowering. And our flowering is my flowering is different than Roy's, as you can tell, and different than Charles, and different than yours. So anyway, the idea, I think, is this person who can show you a quick way out is the one who shows you how to relate to these non-ego entities. And so we're not trapped in our own ego anymore. Okay. And you, the ego awareness, the dream ego, says, I didn't know you could do that. Well, yeah, we didn't know that the way out of the rut of the lidded ego is to have a relationship with the magical aspect of ourselves, the one that transcends banality and order and the three-dimensional world. It's that part of us that's timeless. It's totally liberating. It's liberating in so many ways. I mean, the idea is that once we are in relationship with it, we are really at the place, there's an aspect of us now that's not in time anymore. And so the winds of samsara can't blow us around anymore. So it's very liberating, you know. It's the place where the Buddha sat. It makes us immune from personal problems, you know, and if we have a genuine relationship with it. And the way what they do to escape the pit of ego is they have a design of escape. They have a shortcut, and you know, really, it's a quantum leap, you know, that is really gives us this sense of a life that is going to transcend the small life. You know, it's just this aspect of that. Well, here they describe it. Okay, the doors open above the pit. In other words, the ego, the lid on the ego opens up to the outer world, or to the inner world, to the greater world. And then arms, or the active principle of the animus, forms a lattice work, or an ordered, an ordering. So it really represents logos, rather than where I would probably see roots and plants and things like that. You're seeing more the logos center, which is the more unconscious part of the feminine consciousness. Now, and remember, I have as much feminine in me as you do, and you have as much masculine in you as I do. But the feminine in me is more unconscious, and the masculine is more conscious, just because of accident of birth, you know. But there is a magical aspect to it too. But in the case of a woman, she has just as much masculine aspect as I do, but she's more conscious of her feminine aspect and less conscious of the masculine. It's sort of like our inferior and superior functions too. We're more conscious of our superior function, the one we use all the time. We've got just as much inferior function as the next person, but the dream ego is not conscious of it, you know, or the ego is not conscious of it. So anyway, the doors open above the pit, and there are arms that form a lattice, or a sort of a crystalline structure of order. Okay. And then with a rocket or some sort, and with a parachute involved, they blast up directly out of the pit. They just leave ego. And how do they leave ego? They leave it with a concentrated thrust of pneuma, of masculine spirit, and with the guiding principle of the self as their pole star. They go up straight and true, you know, and easily leave. And so they easily move to the higher plane of being related to the non-ego center of our destiny, the redeeming thing. Okay, the thing that is the redeeming aspect of our lives. They have a direct relationship with it, and with their pole star of the self, their aim is sure and true, you know. And okay, now when ego tries this, let's just guess what happens. We don't even have to read it, but we know from fairy tales, whenever the favored sons of the king try to lift the enchantment or cure the curse that has left the kingdom in this enchanted state of no growth or whatever, that no redeeming thing in it. The favored sons of the king always fail. Okay, so ego is going to try it. What do you think will happen? Okay. Hi, Sarah. I am so glad to see you. or hear you, or just see you're here. We're going through Dawn's dream, and we'll review it a little bit, but I really like it. You know, I'll just say, Sarah, that you add something because you're a very good natural dream interpreter. You know, so I'm glad you're here. Yeah, I know Carl and his paramour are in Colombia right now, so we can't see him. That was kind of interesting too. That Tim has a girlfriend in Colombia. Everybody's got girlfriends in Colombia. Hi, Gary. Okay. Well, I'm going to go over it real quick, just since Gary and Sarah are here. If Sarah, if you could put it in the chat one more time, or maybe Charles or Roy can copy it again for Gary and Sarah. But Dawn is in a pit that feels like a video game. What I'm saying this is the lidded, too small container that contains our ego consciousness. Okay, and someone shows us a way to get out. Okay, it's the one who's related to the inner world, the redeeming thing, knows the way out of this. And what they do is their way of escape is the doors open above the pit. So in other words, the hidden doors on the ego open up, and then arms, the active principle of the animus, forms a crystalline structure of order, and that's what's going to release us to the redeeming thing. And then with a rocket, and that is with a thrust of pneuma, a thrust of spirit, with the guiding principle of the self as the pole star, they rise out of this little world ego has, sure and true. And now they're related to the inner world, which is the redeeming thing. And now ego tries this. And we just mentioned that in a fairy tale, if we leave it up to the egos, the sons of the king, the favored sons, they always fail. The only one that can handle this is one who relates themselves to the animal helpers or the instinctive or archetypal world. And this would be in the case of Parsifal, he drops the reins of the horse, and the instincts of the horse lead him to the Grail Castle. So anyway, when the ego tries this, they don't shoot straight up. They don't have the pole star that the people who related to the self have, and they don't have the crystalline structure of order that the logos or the animus provide. And so we go off on an angle low to the ground. So we don't get far above the ego world. We don't really reach the realm of spirit. And then this unconscious world of the ego consciousness, which is a sort of unconsciousness because it doesn't it doesn't acknowledge that I'm not the master in my own house. See, that's what the ego world is unconscious of. They don't realize that they are not the masters here. They are usurpers in someone else's house. And he is the one that owns it. Who owns it? The unknown being, you know. So anyway, we don't get far. The rocket is insubstantial. It's made of cloth. It's not made of transforming metal, and it's sort of more like a kite that's just blown about by the wind. It doesn't have a kite doesn't have a guiding principle. It just blows wherever the wind listeth. You know, it just blows wherever the wind lists. And so then now, so we've got this little episode. Now we are concentrating. Okay, well, we can't get out of the pit. What's going on in the pit? Okay, well, in the pit are characters that are kind of like there's strange characters that are somewhat malevolent to ego consciousness. but they are in our ego. So we're talking about shadow elements and things like that, you know. And the one thing we learned in The Living Symbol by Gerhard Adler, if you don't integrate your shadow, if I don't integrate my shadow, the anima marries her. If a woman doesn't integrate her shadow, the animus marries the shadow. The animus is supposed to marry us, not the shadow. And if the animus or the anima marries the shadow, we never get out. There's no transforming power available to us. We're stuck in the pit, the lidded pit. Okay. Anyway, we notice a black gentleman. And this would, I don't think, you know, I don't like to, you know, James Hillman one time said, and I really value this thing, is that we should never refer to anyone by their color. We should always only refer to them by the place they come from. He says, because that's always something that is, it has a poisonous element to it, and it's not helpful, you know. So in other words, you say not that someone is a black gentleman, you say he comes from the place all humans came from the birthplace of humans, from Africa, you know. So he's related to the place where all humans come from. Not what color is he, you know. That is a stigma, really, and it's a stereotype. Where if you say someone's from Africa, there's no stereotype there. Or if you say you're from Norway, or if you say you're from the Czech Republic, there's nothing about that that stigmatizes, you know. So, but anyway, the fact that he is darker, like the Black Madonna, means that he's related to the world that is more chthonic or unknown, and probably undifferentiated. So the fact that he's the undifferentiated animus, and he has a ring finger with that shows that he was once married. Who is he married to? He wasn't married to us. We're supposed to marry him. So who is he married to? He was probably married to our shadow. Where is our shadow? We don't know. We have not integrated the shadow, you know. So there's an aspect of we have to integrate the shadow. So anyway, the fact that suddenly consciousness knows, ego consciousness knows, that he was married and his marriage had a suspicious character, exposes him, and he doesn't like it. Okay, he's been exposed by the fact that his marriage, which he's trying to hide, has a suspicious aspect to it. So then the last part is he becomes agitated and angry, but we're not exactly sure why. And there seems to be someone in our realm that thinks that if they get this negative animus angry enough, that there might be a transforming aspect to that will get us out of the pit of ego. Because, you know, in the case of Gerhard Adler as living symbol, and also of Anna Marjula, their animus trapped them in their infantile state, you know. In both cases, the animus stopped the development of growth in them. So it was a negative animus, you know. And I think this seems to indicate that this gentleman has an aspect to him that inhibits growth. Yet there is an aspect within us that is trying to overcome this obstacle or blockage to growth. So there's two sections of the dream. The one shows the way out of the ego, but ego can't do it. It's not ready for it. The second one shows us why we can't do it. And why we can't do it is because there are obstacles and blockages to the growth that will allow us to participate in that the thrust of spirit, the thrust of pneuma, which has a sure and guiding principle, as demonstrated to us, can happen. All right, well, I went on and on. What do you think, Roy?
Yeah, that was very good. I like when Dawn says, she says, I didn't have anything to give it flight. And Craig, you said like the guiding principle. She doesn't have the guiding principle. That's very interesting. It's a very important point. The other thing I like is here it is in a dream again, like a wall between the ego world and the middle world, or the bewitched world, whatever you want to call it. And this time it's like a lattice. Sometimes it's a wall or woven wire. It's a lattice, a division between the two worlds. And she can't make it to the other world because she doesn't have the guiding principle, which is the thing that gives it flight. That was very interesting.
Yeah, great. That's very good. And the one thing I like that Charles that Gary and Roy always provide is a sense of practicality that I absolutely don't have. What do you think, Gary?
Well, I think what's interesting is that it's like, there's this kindly gentleman, and, he seems like a helper, but he's trapped by something in his past. So he has an aspect which can aid, but if the reference to the past comes up, then, it's like a trap, and suddenly everything changes, and the kindly demeanor goes, and changes back. And and I almost wonder if this isn't like, an expression of maybe, what the issue is, why the flight, it's like you get part way up, but something pulls you back. And here the gentleman's helping, but then he changes, which would, be a negative aspect, and keep progress from happening. And I think what would be really interesting for Don to try is, doing the dialogue with the gentleman and trying to, like asking him questions and then embodying him and responding back to see, why he's angry, or, what the issues actually are. But yeah, very interesting dream.
It is. And, I really didn't understand it last time, Dawn. And Dawn says that the idea of the stunted growth, I think both sections of the dream show there's an obstacle to growth. The one is the ego doesn't have any lifting power, as Dawn said. And the other one is that that the male aspect within us seems to be not fostering growth, but from stopping it. Now, Charles, you always have wonderful comments, so let's hear what you have to say. I think you always have a wonderful way of thinking that it always surprises me. But go ahead.
Well, I thought that Roy made a really good kind of, I don't know, I remember last time Roy said something about, I think he was the one that kind of discovered that, the guy was sort of keeping her in the pit, and that, he was angry because, along the idea of that he did not want her to leave. And, I was kind of thinking about it, and it seems like from what I've gathered about a lot of the things that Dawn has expressed since coming to the, group, that she seems like someone who is interested in shadow work and integrating the shadow and having a relationship with the shadow. And if that's so, then it would make sense that this figure is going through a sort of a relationship issue with the shadow. And, you know, he doesn't have the shadow's presence anymore because, well, the shadow is spending time in relationship with Dawn. So it just kind of, I don't know, clicked and made sense to me. And yeah, that's all I really have at the moment. But yeah, I think it's interesting that the idea that's being put forth of this actually being more of a negative animus, and how you mentioned with Gerhard Adler and I forget who the other person was.
Anna Marjula.
Anna Marjula. Just the idea of the negative anima or animus or restricting growth, I think is really interesting, and I want to spend more time with that.
Yeah, it is. Dawn has been giving us comments. If you want to say anything, Dawn, just do you have any comments on anything thus far, or do you want to just text them? That's fine if you do, you know. But
for some reason, talking about the dream is making me feel nervous. And
yes,
I'm not sure why, but so I feel more comfortable just texting.
Yes, don't worry about it. It's perfectly fine. Well, anyway, I would say that let me just, I want to just act as if it's my dream, and then maybe we can all act as it. If this was my dream, I'm saying is, well, first of all, it's not very easy to integrate the shadow. I don't even know who the hell my shadow is, you know. The one thing I do, and I think this sort of makes me a little unreal and a little ungrounded, is what Jung said often, that sometimes we can't solve our problems, but we can outgrow them, you know. So I think the only thing I can do, and maybe the thing that you're already doing, Dawn, is to look at your dreams, because they do have a transforming aspect to them, regardless of whether we integrate the shadow or not, you know. But I think that there is, let's say I'm having this dream, I can see that there is some inhibiting factor in my development. And I'm not identifying it. I don't know what it is. And like I said last time, the one thing we don't do here, and I don't think we ever want to do it, is to ask for too many personal details from anyone, you know. So we're always sort of amplifying these symbolically, you know. But I would say that one thing that we are doing is to listen to our dreams. And I think you said at one time, Dawn, too, that you noticed some effect from looking at your dreams that seemed to be positive. And so to me, that means that the inhibiting factor to growth is, there is a way of transcending it. There is a way of the shortcut is to listen to the instinctive side of ourselves. And you know, one thing Marie-Louise von Franz says, and I just love it, is the most authentic thing we own, the thing that's not the video game of the lidded pit, is our dreams. They're the one thing that don't lie to us. I mean, we're always lying to ourselves, but our dreams never lie to us, you know. And so as long as we're considering our own unconscious material, we're dealing with our own truth, and a truth that will never steer us wrong, you know. And so regardless of how you know, like myself, I'm very scatterbrained and have a certain lack of discipline and everything. But when I listen to my unconscious material, I know that that I will never be steered wrong by it. What do you think, Roy? What about, like, if this was your dream, how would you
Yeah,
look at it?
if it was my dream, what would stand out for me a lot is the guiding principle. And there's a wall. There's the ego world that I live in, and then there's this middle world. And I'm going to get something from the middle world that's going to give me growth, because that's where the real objective reality is. So I kind of want to go there, but I haven't worked with my shadow, which is kind of scary. But it's like a repressed part of myself. Maybe I had it when I was a child, and people told me things or my experiences, and it got all repressed and disappeared. It might have been my creativity or my self-esteem or something. It just got buried down there somewhere. It turned into a shadow. Am I willing to go and explore that so that I can get the courage to get a guiding principle going, so that I can blast over the wall and experience this objective reality that's trying to communicate with me? That's how I feel.
Yeah. Do you feel that you have a guiding principle now? You seem to be developing a very unique guiding principle, one that has to do with the instinctual rooted world, which is beautiful, really. Do you think that you have a guiding principle?
Oh, personally, I do. Yes. I'm 70. So I went through a lot. I went way down in the pit, way down in there. And I got to a point where I was so low and so broken that, well, I saw this thing, I call it the swamp light, because it was so dark and I was so deep into the swamp. It's my guiding principle. And I said, okay, now I'm coming up. I'm going to follow this light. It's going to take me up and out of this world. It took years, but I kept my eye on it and I followed it. And eventually I got to the surface, and I was like an amphibian or something, partly in the water, partly kind of on shore. I was like that for a long time. And then I could kind of crawl up on the land, years and years. But once I hit bottom, I found that guiding principle and I stuck with it.
And one of the most beautiful images that we've encountered, I think, is in Patricia's dream, where she goes off to the unconscious world with the daughter and with the two hooded, faceless animus, and to the right goes her little ego boat. The little ego boat is the lidded pit. Okay, I think that's what I'm thinking, is the little ego boat that she'd abandoned and is now drifting off to the right is the lidded pit. And going north, right, straight up to the center, is the boat with 4 women on one side, on the left side, and 4 women on the right side. So it has an integrating center in the inner world and an integrating center in the outer world. And what's interesting about hers is it is all has to do with the realm of the mothers, and the only masculine aspect we see must be something to do with the boats or something, and the 2 hooded, faceless monks that are guiding our boat to the left. So the male aspect is guiding our boat into the inner world. The feminine aspect is the pole star, and the lidded pit is floating off. We're floating away from it anyway. We're floating into the inner world. So that has an aspect of the guiding principle and an unknown event occurring that is sure to provide something, with the daughter and with the two monks. Okay, Gary. Now, what do you have to say if this was your dream, and also talk about how you've dealt with the shadow, and also about do you feel you have a guiding principle?
Well, if this is my dream, this to me feels like a fairy tale. The problem is posed. We're trapped in something which really isn't quite real, not really where we want to be. And there's, this lattice which is holding us in, and we're making attempts to get out, but we haven't quite found the thing that will lift us out. Although we see other beings, managing to get out. And so, and we have someone that we're relating to, and that we are relating to this gentleman. He seems important, but the gentleman has a problem, and when he's reminded of the problem, he becomes basically disabled. So to me, this could be like a continuing type of thing in the fairy tale, where maybe like in a fairy tale, you have like a helper animal or insect or something that comes along that allows you to give the gentleman something, which then, maybe enables him to help you.
How have you dealt with the shadow, and what do you think your guiding principle is?
Yeah, so I think the thing with the shadow is it's really just becoming aware. It's consciousness, because you're going to have victories and you're going to have defeats. It's not a one-way thing, and to me, the guiding principle is really aliveness. You have to look for things that bring aliveness to things. And if it's something which takes that away, then, you're probably leaning more towards the shadows. So, you look to enliven things, you look to do things that add energy and help to further you and others. So, I think that's the work. The work is discovery and joy. That's the guiding principle.
Yes. Yeah. And Dawn just reminded us that dream about the stars we've done before. I'll find it here, but very good. Thank you, Gary. And the sense of aliveness has always been, and I love the fact that the idea of, I think the one thing that we can do with the shadow is to be able to look at ourselves from a distance, and what, you can always do this in art therapy. If there's something in you that just outrages you or makes you very sad, or if you feel very with low energy, sometimes if you draw that and then put it over here, then you can look at it as an advisor to that person who experiences rage or grief or listlessness, the fact that they don't have an energy. And you can say, well, I'm not that person, but I know what that is. I'm not the one who gets angry. I'm not the one who gets sad. I'm not the one who just sits around all day and does nothing. I mean, I can see that, and I have sympathy for that person, and at that point go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, the one other thing I would throw in there is that, generally the complexes we have, we tend not to see them, and that's kind of why we're caught in them. And one of the, interesting things that, I forget who it was that said it, but they said one of the, you know, the easiest things you can do is to, you know, ask, you know, a close friend to give a really honest assessment of, you know, who you are and what you are like. And, you know, and of course that could be hard to listen to. You know, you might find out some things that you know, that you didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I think it really, you know, dreams give us an outside view, but I think, you know, close friends can also do the same. You know, they could maybe point out places that we make repeated mistakes.
Exactly. And, you know, this is one of my weakness areas too, is I don't know, you know, I like to relate to the magical world, but I'm pretty inept when it comes to relating to the practical world. What do you think, Charles? Now let's just do three things. What would you do if this was your dream? How have you dealt with the shadow? And do you have what you'd call a guiding principle in your life?
If this was my dream, I would definitely be kind of like, I don't know, part of it would make a lot of sense to me because of the like trying to take off with a rocket and only moving laterally, like to the side. I feel like I kind of do that a lot. I want to move towards something, and I really only make these lateral steps. Like I change my stance, but I don't actually make any progress towards the thing that I'm trying to get at. And as far as my guiding principle goes, it's maybe I have kind of found it, but not really. Or it's like I can't. Well, you know, a guiding principle is only so good as to the amount you're willing to let go of what the ego wants to do and actually move towards where the guiding principle wants you to go. And I suppose I'm not very good at that. And what was the third point? I'm sorry.
What your guiding principle is?
Oh, I don't know. It's maybe in too of an abstract form for me to really say. Oh, really, all I know is that, like, if I had a guiding principle, it'd be that whenever I'm confronted with a decision, I know that the right thing to do is always I call it the first voice. It's like I know what to do, I know what not to do. I just have to listen to that instinctual feeling or voice or idea that comes up and not betray it. And yeah, that doesn't always happen.
Well, my refuge, if I were you, would always be to go to the vision of Isis. You know, I mean, go ahead.
One thing Charles said kind of triggered something in me, and I guess that, you know, that is that I think in order to make progress, we have to have this willingness to be pierced. And, you know, it's that being pierced is like, you know, it's discovering like, oh my gosh, I am not whole and I need something else and I have to let it enter, you know. Mm-hmm. And you know, and I think that's true also of even of like successful relationships. You know, both members have to be willing to be pierced, because, you know, if you aren't, then it's like you're always two completely separate people and you're not really contributing to each other.
Could you describe to be pierced? Could you use maybe some synonyms for the word pierce?
Oh, I really like the word pierced.
Yeah, okay.
Because, you know, it kind of implies that it implies that, you know, it's unexpected, outside of our awareness, a bit of a shock, and has to be taken in and absorbed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, that's the type of thing where we find the, you know, the missing element.
Penetrate.
That would also work.
Yeah. Permeate, perforate. I think that those are probably what you're thinking of, isn't it? It's something that we are there's something that, okay, here's the one thing. I see the face of the anima, and she comes closer and closer, and then suddenly we merge.
Right,
you know,
right.
You know, and and I'm just in rapture. Now, I don't say anything transforming occurred, but I'm just, her gesture was so kind and generous, you know, that it changed me. Nothing, anything else, just the gesture that she merged with me was just the generosity of it.
Here's, okay, to me, that is being pierced, though. And here's why. It's like, you know, if you look at where most people are at, and like, you know, how locked up in the intellect they are, the amount of resistance they would feel to seeing that and then to allowing the merge to happen. I mean, this is, you know, this is something where the defenses have to go down, and the, you know, the desire for this, you know, the spirituality and stuff has to really, you know, elevate. And to me, that's, you know, that's also kind of this element of being pierced. Although it sounds like you don't like that word.
No, I don't. It isn't that I don't like it. I just wanted, not at all, but I just wanted to understand more what you meant by it. You know, not I don't like it, but I guess do you know, like let me just add this, that our heart is touched.
Yeah,
perhaps,
yeah,
is what you're saying.
and for your heart to be touched, your defenses have to be down.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and so you know, Dawn, you might want to say some aspects about. I mean, I know some that you feel that you're making some progress. Maybe you could just text, but I would like to read that. Roy or Charles, do you have anything to add? And then I just wanted to read her dream about controlling the fall, because it was so beautiful, just such a beautiful dream. Yeah, go ahead, Charles.
I would say I think my ET dreams are a experience of the, you know, piercing, quote unquote, but for me it was like being confronted with like a sort of godly supernatural power, and like I don't think I was ready to allow it to be like embedded into me. I was way too afraid by the godly alien nature of this of the self, I guess.
Yeah, it is. Again, I think the one thing I hope happens is, if it was me and I was having this dream, I would say the one thing that I would hope would happen would be that I find my guiding principle, or there is, I think it has an aspect of the guiding principle, frees us from the shadow, frees us from the negative animus. And let's just read this controlling a fall dream, because it was so beautiful. We were on a roller coaster that didn't seem scary at first. We were in the front cart, which we didn't initially mind. It had a Jurassic Park kind of theme. with dinosaurs popping out at me, but then I passed through a black rubber-like canvas to the other side. Now, we permeated the barrier between the outer world and the inner world when we went through this canvas. Suddenly now, ego has a threatened aspect. It is barely hanging on to this cart, which it didn't have any fear of in the outer world. But now in the inner world, the ego that can't get its rocket off the ground, that has no lifting power, can't stay in the cart either. Not after it's see, once we try to leave the ego world in the lidded pit, we don't have any lifting power and we don't have a guiding principle. Now, this is similar to this, that once we passed out of the outer world where we were somewhat comfortable in the cart, then suddenly the ego is not able to do it anymore. Now our body is hanging off in space, and this container of ego is trying to fling me off. It's the unconscious wants us to get out of our comfort zone, you know, and let go. This is what Gary was just saying. Just let go. And so now I have had dreams like this. I think I'm, because of anxiety, this fact of being flung off or being in a fall. So, you know, and now we don't have that fully fleshed out, but let's just say for now, it has something to do with letting go of the comfortable in us. And ego doesn't want to do it. And that's why it's experiencing anxiety. But if we do let go, you know, so now we're falling through space. As we're falling, we look up and we see the stars in the sky as we're falling. So the unconscious is protecting us after we let go. So we let go, and the unconscious is protecting us by its guiding star. Okay, literally guiding star. And meanwhile, the ego, because the ego has a guiding star, it becomes very conscious of what it's doing. So the fact that it's so conscious of what it's doing, it is ordering the inner world. So it has a gyroscope in it. You know, this is sort of the lattice work. And so as we're falling, we start with our gyroscope doing flips on the way down, and now here is the amazing part. So each time we did a flip, we would see the stars in the right way, so we knew the straight way down. And then as we were getting close to the water, we thought it would kill us. But what do? We minimize the, we try to enter at a one-pointedness, you know, the piercing. For the least amount of damage, I lengthened my body out like a spear to pierce the water, and we went into the unconscious without being hurt at all. Isn't that a wonderful dream? I mean, the fact that it has everything in the dream of the lidded pit that we need: the guiding stars, the way of navigating our rocket. Now, how did we navigate when we're falling? How does this apply to the rocket ship that goes low to the ground? We continually look at the stars to right ourselves. Okay, we don't look for ego, the help of ego. The ego can't help us now, so the stars help us. And the other thing is that we know, we see, because of that, we suddenly know, what does she say? She says, she gets, she pays great attention to the body, as it falls. Now, you know what happens when you, now, Gary, you've been doing all these exercises about paying attention to the body as it falls, you know, I mean, and then you can pierce the water at just the exact point. Now, isn't those two dreams put together wonderful? I mean, they're just absolutely.
Oh, they go so well together. Actually, I was a little bit late because on Insight Timer, I found this dance meditation I was doing. It was so much fun.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And Roy said he likes that site too. You know, he mentioned that before you came on. And I'm going to have to look at it too. I mean, the one I liked was just I can't move my back around like she does, back and forth. You know, my spine is a little less limber, you know, and you had just said you'd tweaked your back, Gary.
That's true. That's true. And it's like, and it's
how did he tweak his back doing right. This? You know? Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
It's like it's questionable, you know.
But just the sitting there with holding the hands against the sternum and saying those beautiful words. I just wish she just didn't stop saying them. But anyway, Dawn, I think I would like to come back to this dream tomorrow night too. I would like to come back at it one more time, but let's sleep on it a little bit. Don't you think that if we incubate this a little bit, I think that we're going to, you know, we're not that capable of interpreting dreams, but sometimes if we sleep on them a little bit, they're going to add something that we missed before, you know. And so let's just kind of discuss it briefly tomorrow night as well. And Dawn, that I'm not saying we're done with this, because I think there's a lot more, and I like to try to link these two dreams too a little bit more, you know. But now, does either Roy or Gary have a dream they want to discuss?
I was gonna say,
yeah.
I did bring a dream last time about the.
Oh yes. Could you put Ferrari. It back in the yeah? I was wondering, because I didn't have the chat. Yeah, why don't you put it in there? Because I know we didn't finish it.
Well, I'm over at my niece and nephew's babysitting, so I'm not on my computer.
Okay, sure. Well, just tell us the dream.
Yeah. Let me read it real quick for you.
Yeah, your ambience sounds a little different there.
Yeah. I'm over on my phone.
I could tell something was different.
Okay, here we go. So, I was in a house in the kitchen, and I had 2 sinks of clean soapy water and one with murky and dirty water, and it was like a restaurant, like 3 sinks set up, and I was washing plastic so that it could be recycled, because I do that, because if you take it to the plant, or if it gets to the plant and it's too dirty, they have to throw it out. Can't recycle it. And so there was this really cool Ferrari on the side of the house that I noticed, and my mom gets home, and she had been riding this very small vehicle, and it's like black and kind of teardrop shaped. I mean, a third of the size of a go-kart, maybe. Very small. And I looked at it and opened the door to it. No one could possibly fit inside of it, though. And there were all these like elaborate controls and switches and buttons, along with the seat and steering wheel. And I believe it actually belonged to my nephew, and he also appeared. And when I looked inside it, I all of a sudden had my helmet on, and my vision became very narrow and tunnel visioned. I took it for a short ride up and down the street. It was really fast and fun. when I get back, I start talking about the Ferrari. And we did not have a key for it. My mom said that we would have to post in the newspaper to see if it belonged to anyone, to see if anyone would claim it. And if no one did claim it, then we could just buy a key to it. And that sparked the memory of, I remember there being a small bowl of keys, of car keys, over at my grandfather's house that had since been lost. And I was pretty sure that it did contain a Ferrari key, but it was now gone.
Okay, now this is a dream of about 3 parts, and let's go through it again here. And I knew it was somebody. I couldn't remember who it was last time. I lost my notes and I didn't get to watch it. Okay, so now the dream ego has 2 sinks. One with very clear water, the one that cleanses or rinses, say, so that when the plates come out of it, they're ready for use. The other one is very murky, and the plates or anything that comes out of that is going to be fouled by the murky water, and you are cleaning plastics, and you need to clean them properly, or otherwise you won't be able to recycle them. Now, did I miss anything in that? Because I just started taking notes. Was there anything else in that aspect, first part?
No, but it was 3 sinks. I had 2 clean, 1 dirty.
Okay, 3 sinks, 2 clean, 1 dirty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I always have these dreams about water, and some have sediment in it. So what I always thinking is that the earth and the water are mixing. So this isn't just fluid, but it's got earth and water. So it's got 2 elements in it. But anyway, I don't know what to do with that at this point. But we are cleansing things that need to be renewed or reborn. So we're actually, what we're trying to do is to create a renewed something, a renewed attitude with unconscious material. So with the unconscious material, now this is kind of a leap, but with this unconscious, with the water, we are trying to create some aspect of renewal, or something that could be refurbished, as my wife keeps losing her earbuds, and I keep buying her refurbished ones because the new Apple iPods are $200 a piece. So anyway, we're trying to refurbish and renew so that we can have a renewed attitude, or something that is going to be fresh and new, that the old is going to be reusable now. Okay, now so there's that aspect, and we're going to look at it later, but that's from that. But so leading from this, and we don't understand yet why this would lead from it, we notice the God car, Ferrari. This is the car, that's like the shoebill stork. It's this aspect of the ego. If our ego consciousness, the vehicle of ego consciousness, was a Ferrari, what would that say about our consciousness? I mean, that what the carrier of consciousness is the Ferrari. Well, that means it's the carrier of the self. The Ferrari is the carrier of the divine within us, the immortal aspect of ourselves. Meanwhile, the realm of the mothers has also a carrying aspect, and it's a black tear. Okay, it's a tear, so it represents kind of the feeling function. where this Ferrari is this amazing spiritual aspect, not related to the earth at all. I mean, the Ferrari is like a rocket ship, you know, so it's more related to the spiritual aspect. The mother has a very humble vehicle, and it is a shape of a chthonic tear, a tear of the underworld. Okay, and it is not as magnificent as the Ferrari, but when we look inside it, it's incredibly complex. It has many subtle aspects that you wouldn't think of when you just see it from the outside because of its size. And even though it doesn't look like anybody fits inside, the dream ego rides around in the feeling function for a while, and they have a lot of fun in it. Okay, it's feminine, it's in shape of a teardrop, you know, where I think Charles' superior function is thinking, so he's riding around in the unconscious function, and seems to be having a good time in feeling, you know. And but then now we find out it doesn't belong to the mother. It might belong to the mother's sister's son. Is that correct, Charles? Is her nephew your cousin on your mother's side?
It's my nephew, so it's my sister's son.
Okay, so it's your sister's son. So it's not the vehicle of the mother. It is the vehicle of the sister's son. So it is the vehicle. Okay. Now we've just added something wonderful to the mother. The mother's daughter's son. So the mother is a grandmother. The mother's daughter's son owns this vehicle. So he's sort of, you know, the aspect of growth in the realm of the mothers. You know, he's the child of the mother's daughter. You know, so there's this aspect of the growing aspect of the feminine world actually is the real owner of the feeling function vehicle. It's the growing aspect of the mother realm, not the mother herself, but her growing aspect. And she's one space removed from it. I mean, she's the great mother. And so that belongs to the now that was after we found out that I jumped ahead. That's when we put on the helmet that gives us tunnel vision, gives us focused vision. It concentrates our view on one point rather than being distracted over here. And so when we have a focused point, then we can drive around in the mother's vehicle. Okay. And what is it? What's this aspect right before we talk about the Ferrari tree? We post something?
No. Well, I was talking to my mom about the Ferrari, and she said we have to make a post in the newspaper to see.
Oh, yes, we're going to put a post in the newspaper. Okay, so now after we've got that, now we're going to talk about this vehicle of the self. Okay, who does it belong to? Nobody knows. We don't know who it belongs to. So it's like we're not the masters in our own house. Okay, we don't know who owns it. The owner of the house that is always unknown. Nobody knows who he is, you know, but it's not our house. Okay. So who owns the Ferrari? We don't know. But we could put a picture in or an ad in the paper and see if anybody's missing one. Maybe the self will come and say, yeah, that's mine. He's never going to do that. Okay. So the aspect is if no one claims it, and no one is going to claim it, because the self is put it there, you know, as its vehicle, but it's for us, you know. It's a carrier for us, the greater carrier. If then the mother world is saying that we can go make a key for it, you know, and then the thing that unlocks the magical vehicle of transformation, the mother says, if no one else claims it, no one's going to claim it, then we can go make a key for it. Now it's getting very mysterious here, because that's mysterious. Okay. What's the next mysterious thing? We recall that the grandfather, is that the mother or the father of the mother?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay. The father of the mother who told us that we could go make a key, who's from the realm of the ancestors. So he's actually is probably representing that he's the owner of the Ferrari. In fact, he had the key. So he's the owner. Who's the owner of the Ferrari? It is the father of the great mother, or that aspect of the great mother's masculine parentage, if she had it. But you know, that's a kind of I don't know when to go there. But anyway, so now we have an inkling of who actually owns the Ferrari. The realm of the ancestors owns it, and it has the key. But somehow all of these keys have been lost. So the current generation does not have access to the keys that once resided in the realm of the ancestors. We can't get the key from the realms of the ancestors. The only way we can find the key or get the key to the transforming, ordering archetype of wholeness is to go make one create it ourselves. We need to create the key ourselves with our own life. You know, now we don't go to the key store and get it. The way we really are going to make that key is through our own life. You know, we'll create the key to the vehicle of the center. You know, this God car. Anyway, I don't feel like it's hanging together real well, but what do you think, Roy? I mean, I am not done, is what I'm saying.
I wanted one note. I did not actually ride inside of the tiny vehicle. The way you drove it was you sat on the thin part of the teardrop because it was kind of flat, and rode it kind of like a weird motorcycle. So
yeah, it was sort of like a unicycle or something. But it's almost like a gyroscope inside, because it's just full of guiding principle, okay? But we ride it almost like the top of a gyroscope or something, or a unicycle or something like that. Is that correct? I mean, did it just float above the ground?
No, it actually did have, so it was kind of like a reverse old hot rod. It had big fat wheels on the front and tiny wheels on the back. And like, it looked like a motorcycle gas tank in a way, how they're kind of teardropped. And so it was a little bit flattened out. You could sit on the thin end of it and put your feet up on like the wheel guards of the front wheels, the fenders, I guess. And then there's a little set of handlebars on the front that you could use.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's a tank full of energy.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, a tank full of energy with wheels. Okay, that we can ride around. So we've got two vehicles of awareness. One is the tank full of energy with wheels that belongs somehow to the mother world, and then the other one is the vehicle of the realm of the ancestors, which is that's not just a car for ego. What do you think, Roy?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I just kind of look at the forest. I remember he had another fancy sports car in a dream that he sort of lowballed. But I think subconsciously he likes the fancy sports car, but he's sort of tooling around in the realm of the mothers with this strange vehicle. But I think he really likes the fancy sports car. But like you say, he's going to have to make the key. You know, he ain't going to find it in the realm of the mothers. He's going to have to make it. You know, that's quite a task. That's the hero's journey.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And it's one that's not going to be easy either. I mean, I don't know how easy it is, but to make the key to a Ferrari, it seems like the fact that you just don't go do it automatically is it just shows that I'm not clear it's going to happen. You know, I mean, I don't know clearly how or who's going to make it, other if we don't. What do you think, Gary?
Actually, I've got a question for Charles. Did he say that the Ferrari was like mounted vertically on a wall, like not even on a street, but like?
Oh, no. On the side of the house, I meant like it was parked in the driveway alongside the house. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think, you know, what Craig and Roy had to say, that's a pretty good analysis. You know, it's the, you know, there's the desire for the power, but it requires, you know, going over to the side of the father and, you know, and doing the work there. And even the mother's car, you know, it was kind of like, he didn't actually own it. It was like, oh, you know, let me try out the, you know, the feeling and see what this was like. And that was actually good. So it was like an experimental thing to see like, oh, yeah, this is a good thing to do too. So both of them seemed like aspects of the journey, you know.
Gary, you hit something so powerful. The idea, I think, is that the real key to individuation in Charles is to, son, go find your father. You know, son, go find your father. I mean, this is what, remember when the two brothers are trapped in Spider-Woman's world and need to escape, you know, the helping says, son, go find your father. So the way to escape the realm of Spider-Woman is for the two brothers to go to the sun, the one that was setting in the other dream, and find the father world. Because what's missing in us is the father world. And that father world is going to provide the key to wholeness, which is represented by this God car. So the redeeming thing in Charles' life, you know, I think, is to enter at this point. Now, I don't see it's going to be the ending thing of I think this is a transitory development. It's a transition. But at this point, what is needed is a threshold crossing into the Father's world. And in the Father's world, we will find the car that is the most dynamic car in the universe. So if we want to be able to drive the most dynamic car in the universe, we need to go to the Father's realm to get the key. You know, not just the Father, but the great Father. You know, this is the Father of fathers. You know, the Father of mothers too, but he is the great Father, not just the ordinary Father. And he has the key to the most dynamic car in the universe. And if we can get the key for the most dynamic car in the universe, now what is the status of ego consciousness now? The car it has been riding in is very undifferentiated. It's just a tank of fuel with a few wheels on it. You know, how does that compare to the Ferrari? Even the name is just awe-inspiring. What do you think, Roy? I think Gary really. I mean, that was great, Gary. I think it just opened up a side of the dream I didn't see until you mentioned it. What do you think, Roy?
Well, he is a double Leo, so a Ferrari would look pretty good. You know, he would look good in a Ferrari.
I would say so, compared to this just riding on a motorcycle tank. I think that's what it really is. Where the vehicle is all it is the gas tank on a motorcycle. That's the teardrop shape. Is just so all it is a gas tank with wheels, which is sort of somewhat of an analogy to the gutted car. You know? Is this the vehicle the ego's going to drive around in? Where's the seats? You know, where's the steering wheel? You know, where's the satellite radio and the air conditioning? Oh, there's not much that's differentiated here. And now we compare that to the highly, highly differentiated car of the great Father. And so the current hero journey, the current goal of the quest is to find the key to the most dynamic vehicle in the universe that belongs to the Father world. Now, what if Charles' ego had this to operate with in the outer world, you know, and not just driving down the road, but in work, in career, in social life, you know, social existence, all of those things together, you know, and how do we get all those things? Is we need to go to the Father world and find the key, you know. So what does it mean to go to the Father world and find the key for the dream ego here? Do you have any comments on that, Gary or Roy? And then maybe Charles, you have something? Go ahead, Gary. I mean, you were the one that brought up that he needs to go find the Father.
Yeah, well, I think the Father world is one of action, and it's one that pulls you out, away from the mother. You know, like if you look at like all the primitive societies, you know, like at the age of 12 or so, you know, there's this separation ceremony where, you know, the men, the warriors, you know, they race in and they steal the male child, and the women, you know, pretend to fight to bring him back. And yet, you know, but they're not allowed to even associate with that other world, you know, while they're taught, you know, the skills of the Father. And of course, you know, the thing that we completely lack in society now is that, you know, because we all, you know, work in kind of a corporate world, you know, there is no longer this transference of the skills of the Father to the Son. I mean, you'd have to live like in Arkansas in the, you know, in the backwoods or something, and, you know, to have those type of skills transferred. And so, you know, it's something which I think, you know, is no longer a part of society, and it's kind of really been left up to the individual to you know, to take on, you know, to recognize that task and to take it on. But yeah, I mean, definitely that's what the dream seems to say to me.
What do you have any further comments on it, Roy?
Yeah, Gary really summed it up good. You know, it's just amazing in the world that we live today. Men are like castrated, and women can be very aggressive and get away with stuff that a man couldn't get away with. I mean, I didn't grow up in a world like that. And so men today are growing up in a world like that, and some don't have fathers. Yeah, it's totally out of my realm. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, you know, I want to just take one stab, and then I'd like to hear Charles' comments. Let's start out with the fact that there are in the start of the dream, there is an attempt by ego to renew something, you know, and so there's four things. There is the dream ego. There are two clear pools and one murky pool. So the dream ego with two clear pools and one murky pool is trying to trying to find a way so that what it is working on can be renewed. Because if it fails, they will throw it out. So it's trying to create a renewal. So that is what, from this attempt by ego with two clear pools, one murky pool, one that's more earthy, two that are more spiritual, yet water is always feminine. So there's the clear feminine, and then the earthy feminine, and the ego are trying to create a renewal. Okay, then we move and we see the car of the Great Father, the vehicle of the Great Father. But we don't know who the Great Father is or who owns it yet. But it appears to be the grandfather, the father of the mother world. Now, remember that the water is very important to Charles. I mean, Charles has a problem with water because it doesn't have islands in it sometimes. I haven't heard a dream like that for a while. There might be a growth aspect that aspect is faded into the background. But the other thing is, like myself, Charles tends to be a poer a little bit. And in my own case, that meant that I was in the womb, you know, of infinity, and I had no incentive to leave it. You know, there's nothing, I was perfectly happy here. You know, like Jung says, it's a conditional life. You know, I will come out of this, my womb, if you treat me nice and don't say anything mean. If you say anything mean, I'm going right back. You know, because I don't have to put up with you. I'll just go right back here, where I'm insulated from people like you, you know, mean people, you know. So that, but yet the mother world is undifferentiated. It's a gas tank on wheels, her ego vehicle for us anyway. So it hasn't, in time, in history, and the events of life, not much has happened living in this realm. Not much has grown, not much has developed. It's in a very rudimentary state. All it is a gas tank on wheels. Yet, let's look at the father world. He's built a friggin' Ferrari, you know, this unbelievably, the most dynamic car in the world. Now, that's a part of us too, but we haven't been interested in going there, you know? So how do we get in relationship to the most dynamic car in the world? Well, we need to have a relationship with the Great Father, you know? The Great Father, the great principle of action, the great principle of the active principle, the one of doing, you know, the one of a solar Apollonian creativity, you know, and just relentless movement. I mean, that's what kind of the Ferrari represents, is relentless movement, you know. And if we can get the key to the relentless movement that's represented by the Ferrari, then we will be aligned with the world of the Great Father. And that promise of renewal in the start of the dream, which seemed rather modest, will become unbelievably powerful. Charles, do you have any closing comments on this? Again, this is one I would like to just quickly review next time after we have a night to sleep on it. But what are your current thoughts?
Well, one thing, you know, I have 2 vehicles right now, and my other vehicle is actually it's a black scooter, and it makes me think of this small vehicle. And you know, while it's fun and it's fast, it's one thing I realized is it's really not very cool. Not a motorcycle, it's a scooter. And you know, I took out a loan to buy this thing at a 30% interest rate, and I've barely made a dent in the loan. And you know,
how much you owe on it?
$1,700, and I bought it for $1,700. But
oh, no, I'm not going there. Go ahead. No judgments here.
Right. You know, it's something my grandfather, the grandfather mentioned in the dream, you know, he gives me shit a lot. I mean,
is he still alive?
Yeah, he's still alive. He's a little bit negative. He's kind of like, yeah, he's a smart dude. And honestly, he's in extremely good health for his age. But he'll just berate you. He won't like actually give you any sort of constructive criticism. He'll just tear you apart. Kylie, hold on. You know, it's like, dude, the father archetype in my psyche is 100% unconscious. I mean, 100% unconscious. I don't know exactly. It's just going to be a really, really big struggle and challenge for me. I'm kind of, I don't know. I'm really just confused and like scared and like don't know how to approach it. I get really, I'm really sensitive around like people that father archetype can be projected onto, and I usually have to stay away from them. Just the whole idea with the scooter kind of made me think of this little vehicle, and I am the kind of person that would want a Ferrari, like absolutely, like 100%. Like, I mean, you kidding me? Like, if I had it, I wouldn't like sell it or you know, for anything. I would love something like that. I don't know what the whole recycling, like washing the plastic is really all about. I'm trying to.
I would try to not focus on the mundane aspect.
Right.
I would try to give euphemisms to every part of it. Yeah. That's what I was trying to do with the 2 clear pools, the 1 murky pool. We are going to create, we are going to take what's old and discarded and make it new again.
Part of me thinks it's like, it's an example of like, what the hell am I doing in the kitchen washing plastic? I need to be out there trying to like get this Ferrari key figured out. And yeah, I don't know. I think everyone made a lot of really good points. In fact, you know, there has been no threshold crossing for me.
That's the disease of this age for young men.
Yeah.
They don't have.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know what to do about it. I've considered just like, I mean, just picking up and moving halfway across the country and just trying to like trying to put myself in a situation where I cannot have help from anyone. And I'm presented with like a do or die challenge.
And buy a Nike t-shirt with a swoosh on it. Right. Just do it.
Right.
You know?
But yeah, you know, that's all I got for now.
Yeah. I had like yesterday, they did a catheter on me to look at my heart. You know, I had been having this little angina. I couldn't move this until about today. I mean, my arm was just stiff as a board. But anyway, everything, all systems go. So I'll be fine. Anyway, tomorrow, Gary and Roy, if you could each get a dream ready tomorrow, we'll just kind of review Dawn's dream one more time. And I'd like to put it in conjunction with the beautiful dream of the guiding principle that seems to be lacking in the second dream. And then we'll also just go over Charles' dream one more time. I'm going to try to pull it together. But Charles, if you could email it to me when you get home, it helps a lot.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we'll meet tomorrow. And Dawn, thank you again. I think we made a lot of progress on that dream, and thank you for reminding me about other dreams, because they are related like this, you know. So anyway, thank you, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night then. Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thanks, Charles and Roy and Gary. Bye now.